Bill Searcey, former offensive lineman. This guy never lost to Auburn. He never lost to Tennessee. He won 2 national titles, 3 SEC titles. Very versatile offensive lineman at the University of Alabama. Bill, I hope you're having a great day, man. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. And what an appropriate song. It is a great day to be alive, literally.
No doubt. And I love that song. It's Travis Tritt, and it's because it just reminds you of how precious life is, and you think about it. And I say it a lot when people call in from time, and I steal it from that song. Somebody will say, well, how you doing? And I'll say, it's a great day to be alive. And it's just kind of a good reflection. How you feeling, Bill?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm four radiation treatments in, and I have 28 total to go, or 25 to go. We'll be done with all treatments August 13th, and right just in time for football season, brother.
Okay. But you feeling good though?
I feel good. Yeah, I feel pretty good.
Okay. All right. It's just wanted to update you and just see exactly how you were feeling, because a lot of people ask me about you from time to time, and exactly.
Yeah.
But all the prognosis is continuing to be at the right direction.
It has. It's been cancer free since we had surgery in late February, and that's our goal now. Is to that first big mark is to be 1 year cancer free after that surgery. So we're heading in that direction. All these treatments, leave you tired and nauseous, but hey, you can get through that. I mean, there's just so many things out there that I want to do, and I will not let something like that slow me down.
Hey, well, you sent me something last night. We were listening to the show. Were you in T-Town?
I was briefly yesterday. I had to come. I was coming through and had one meeting, but I was on my way down to Utah.
I got you. So now you're headed to Starkville for a meeting there, and now if you come back through, I'm buying dinner tonight if you want to go.
I will. Well, I've got, unfortunately, and you may have read about this, the young lady, a beautiful young lady who died in a plane crash this past weekend is the daughter of a friend of mine who I work with.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm going over for the viewing.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, and I won't be back through Tuscaloosa until probably 8 o'clock or so.
Okay, I got you. Well, we got to connect over some Dreamland barbecue ribs. I know I've been saying that, but we've got to get you. We got to get you down, because I'm going to pick your brain on a lot of different things. But okay. Bill didn't text me about football yesterday. We just happened to be talking about deer hunting, and somebody called in randomly about deer hunting, and Bill sent me a message of a text message of deer, and people that. I mean, I love football and I love deer hunting. It's both of them are fun. It's a great part of the fall.
And you can always listen to the game on your headset while you're in the shooting house. So
I wonder if that could work my way though. I thought about going out and doing a remote.
You got to do that. I heard you say that yesterday. You got to do a remote from the shooting house.
Yeah. Well, and Rumsey's got these wonderful big shooting houses that have actually they're like houses, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if the deer would hear me. I mean, I just have to quiet when I open the window and, get a shot in. But, I mean, that would be, I don't know, maybe the bye week. All right, so I wanted to go back to what Coach Stallings told us yesterday, Bill.
Okay.
Coach Stallings, we were talking about different eras of college football. And we were talking about an era, he said, this is hard to wrap his brain around. He said, but we were not allowed to get water during practice. He said that was just something that we didn't do. You were part of that when you first got here, but that rule changed because of Byron Braggs. Kind of walk us through that. I mean, it's hard for all of us to wrap our head around that you go out and you practice in those pads for 2 hours and not get water.
Yeah. Well, and you got to remember though, back in those days, and that's the 70s, of course, mid 70s. We were coming out of high school, and when I was in high school, I don't even remember if we got water. But when I got to Alabama, you're right. We didn't get water. What we did eventually start getting was, and without exaggeration, they would blow a whistle and the whole team would line up across the field, and trainers would come by with these little these little racks with cups in them, Dixie cups almost, and you get about a half a cup of Gatorade that had been mixed from a powder, and it had grass in it and everything else, but you get a little, maybe one of those. But if you were scrimmaging, like in the stadium, you didn't get water. I mean, that wasn't part of the deal, And so, they didn't know what they know today.
Sure, right.
About what it was doing to us. So, yeah, we didn't. Coach Stallings right. We didn't get it.
Well, that was somebody called up and just asked him the question. He said the biggest challenge now is, he said the biggest change that he sees is how they go through. I go out to practice. You go out to practice. They've got like a pressure washer. Now, they don't have it up on high, but it's like the mist. And they go by cooling people off. I mean, they literally spray a pressure washer mist at all the – I mean, can you imagine out there? I mean, and they don't have two-a-days anymore. That was eliminated a couple of years ago. They don't do two-a-days anymore.
I can't even imagine that. And what I don't understand, and I've said this a million times, is how they prepare like that for a real game situation where there are times in a game where you're going to go 15 plays straight without a water break, And I don't know how you prepare for the hot games and that kind of thing. And, of course, they know what they're doing. So, but by the time, in our case, when we went through training camp, by the time we got to the season, playing a game became easy compared to practice. And I read a quote the other day that reminded me from Coach Bryant, and it said that he made the comment to somebody that, yes, I'm very tough on my players in practice because if they're going to quit, I want them to quit in practice, not in the game. So that was the mentality. Yeah, that was the mentality. Ryan, he told us one time that don't worry about the heat. He said, don't worry about dying in the heat. He said, you'll pass out first, and we'll take care of you after that.
I mean, was he joking or was?
Yeah, Yeah.
Okay. I mean.
Yeah.
So, and Bill, I don't want to go back to this story, but I would kind of like to because things happen and things change. Were you on the field when Byron Braggs literally died out on that field?
Yeah. Well, I think here's what happened: is he was running after practice.
Okay.
And and we had an extremely hard practice, and I don't know what happened, but he was doing some extra running, and I think the way it went was we all heard, that he went down, and then the ambulance came and they packed him in ice and took him off. And I believe, like you're saying, I think he did actually die at some point in time.
Yeah.
And they brought him back.
Yeah, because we've had him on. We've talked to him about it, and I guess obviously the policy changed at that point, and they go, hold on a minute, maybe what we're doing is not as smart. So then you guys got from a half a cup of Gatorade. Do you get a full cup after that? I mean, is that?
I don't ever remember any full cups, but if you were if you were really tired and looked like you were going down or something, I mean, they were going to come take care of you. But what they did do after Byron's incident, they built a little shelter out there about big enough for about two players to sit under, so they could bring people in out of the heat into the shade. So, but like I said, in a controlled scrimmage in the stadium, what we used to call no-time scrimmages, which meant Coach Bryant decided how many plays the scrimmage would be, you didn't get water. And the longest I went was 118 plays straight in a scrimmage without a break.
See, I love these old battle stories of this because you know what I'm sitting here thinking about? I'm thinking about team chemistry and how easy it was to build team chemistry because you guys all went through things. I mean, it's kind of like boot camp. There's a real reason why the military, they want to find out if you're a quitter. That's why they put you through boot camp. I mean, if you're going to be a Navy SEAL, it's called Hell Week, and they literally put you through that because they want you to quit then rather than out on the battlefield.
Well, one of my teammates in those days was a center named Joey Robbins from Opp, Alabama, and we are still very, very, very good friends to this day. And Joey and I were the only two that day that went 118 plays straight. And we rotated. We went across the line from, guard to tackle to center and just rotated in a loop. And we just never came out of the scrimmage. And he and I were together recently, and we hunt together. And we talk about that day a lot. We still remember it very well.
And Bill, probably for you, as you reflect on the 60s, and Coach Stallings and I, we were talking about this yesterday, how players played both ways. So if you were an offensive lineman, you'd be a defensive lineman. If you were a linebacker like Leroy Jordan, he played linebacker. He was a center. And if you were a quarterback, you were a defensive back, a running back. I mean, think about having to play both sides of the football.
Yeah, I didn't even do that in high school. I mean, my high school didn't even have people going both ways. So, yeah, I've thought of that many times. Those guys were incredible athletes and had incredible stamina. But, you know, they were trained in the off season extremely tough, just like we were. And once you got to, like I said, once you got to the season, I mean, that was a cakewalk. Everything else was preparing for the season.
So really, the season, I mean, not saying that it was a break, but as what you're sitting there describing, it was a break.
Well, compared to two-a-days in spring training, yeah. Spring training was extremely tough back in those days, too. I mean, we had 20 days of spring, and we were allowed to hit every single day. You know, there were no rules back then. And so spring was extremely tough, and then the summer coming into the season was extremely tough. Now, don't get me wrong, during the season, we still practiced in pads. And there were some days when you know, we had really tough practices in the middle of the season, just depending on how we had performed the week before. But two-a-days was still the boot camp.
Bill, can you imagine the revenge game, the revenge factor on this team that's currently, because things didn't end very well. And sometimes when you don't end well, you get the chance to go back, the next week, and you get to go on the field and you make a wrong or right. They didn't play well. They didn't have their mental focus. They had a sense of entitlement, and they got beat and they got whipped.
Yep.
And it's been a long 170 days for us as fans, but I can only imagine inside that locker room how they're anticipating the first game against Duke in 51 days.
Oh, I can't imagine that either. You can bet that the tempo is really high, everything that's being done, and I guarantee you there's not a day gone by in this offseason that Coach hasn't reminded them of what happened in that last game the year before. And, remind them that, like he says all the time, you got to finish. I mean, people get to the championship, but not many win the championship. And you got to finish, man. And it's tough. They play a grueling schedule, then they play a playoff schedule, and it's a long season. But hey, that's what you're there for. And if they're not motivated this year, I can't understand. It doesn't make any sense.
As we continue the conversation, we're talking to Bill Searcey, former offensive lineman at the University of Alabama. Bill, today we're going to make a little show out of this on a throwback day. First Alabama game that you ever attended. I'm sure it's probably as a recruit, I would assume, for you, or did you go to games prior? No, it was a recruit. Do you remember the game?
Absolutely. It was Alabama versus Clemson, a night game in Bryant Denny Stadium. And and Alabama beat Clemson 56-0, I believe was the score. And I had just been to Georgia on a recruiting trip and other places. And that night in that stadium, watching them is when I really decided that I wanted to play for Alabama, because I had never been to an Alabama game. I wasn't an Alabama fan. I was a Georgia fan. But that game convinced me, and that's where I wanted to be, no matter how tough it was, because I thought that I had a chance to be on a national championship team at Alabama. And, I made a right decision. And, I remember the game really well.
So walk us through a recruit coming to the Clemson game, and that was back in 1975. It was the second game of the season on September the 20th, as you said, 56-0. Alabama played Missouri the week prior, and things didn't get started well in that season. It was a loss, and then they won the rest of the games. They were SEC champions that year. But talk about what happened as a recruiting, because I'm kind of curious how those things have changed a little bit.
Well, and forgive me because my memory, that's a long time ago, but I mean, they would fly you in to say they would flew me into Tuscaloosa, and they have some assistant coach pick you up, and John Mitchell and John Mitchell and Bryant, who were two assistant coaches at the time, were the coaches assigned to recruit me, and then Bob Bumhauer was part of the recruiting process with me and showed me the campus, showed me around, and introduced me to his family. And Bob was I knew who he was, even though I wasn't an Alabama fan.
Sure.
And then, you know, my parents drove because they were not allowed to fly with me, and they drove over, and then, you know, they would take you out on the campus and take you out wherever you wanted to go, to a party or a fraternity party, what have you. And then the next day on Sunday, we would go in. We went in, I remember, with my parents and met Coach Bryant in his office. And, of course, you know, he would tell you and your parents that they really wanted you at the University of Alabama, and that, you know, he wanted me to come there and those kind of things. And my mom fell in love with him right away. And so he and my dad both smoked Chesterfield cigarettes, so they got along on that front. And
so hold on, Bill. I mean, I'm sorry. I know you're driving to Starkville, so if you need to go, you need to go.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. So like, you're in a recruiting visit. Your dad smokes Chesterfields. Coach Bryant smokes Chesterfields. I mean, Did they light one up at the recruiting? I mean,
Coach Bryant. I believe Coach Bryant. I believe he had a cigarette lit in the office when we were there.
Oh my heavens! Wow. Okay. I mean, I'm just trying to the photo of my image of this. Okay.
Once again, though, what's funny is that when you would go up to see Coach Bryant, you know, as a player, I mean, you know, he was a smoker. You know, I just can't even picture Coach Saban sitting in his office smoking a cigarette. You know.
Sure.
But Coach Bryant, that was the times we were in. You know,
100%.
A lot of people smoked, and they smoked everywhere. And so, yeah, I mean, and when he got in, and he came to Savannah, I'll tell you this too. He came to Savannah to sign me, and my dad made me pick him up by myself at the airport in my dad's car. And Coach Bryant, I'm 17 years old, and Coach Bryant gets in the car, and, you know, we're having minimal conversation because I'm scared to death. And he lights up a cigarette in my car, in my dad's car, and smokes one on the way to the house. You know, so,
I mean, think about that. I mean, I know we're 2019, and it's wow. that is. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to even wrap my head around that. But
well, he used to smoke on the field during our warm-ups. He would stand at the goalpost. Those old pictures of him leaning on the goalpost all the time, and he did. But many times he had a cigarette in his hand.
Wow.
And the story goes, and I don't know where it was, we were playing somewhere that had a new turf field, and there was an actual argument amongst the staff of the other side that who's going to go tell Coach Bryant he can't flick that cigarette butt on the new AstroTurf. And needless to say, nobody won, and he did what he did. So just that was the times we were in, you know.
All right, and see, I asked Joe Namath about this a couple of months ago. We had him on, and you know, he said the first time he ever saw Coach Bryant, I said, what was your thoughts of seeing – because, Bill, I mean, take me back. That recruiting visit, was that the first time that you ever saw Coach Bryant?
Yeah.
And so
was.
Joe said, I was shocked at how large – because he was an icon. I mean, he was an icon even at that time. He goes, but I was so shocked at how big he was.
Yes, that's true. He was – and I was shocked, too. I had no idea. And he just had a presence, you know, like some people do. And he had a presence when you were around him, and when he was in my home with my parents. He was always very respectful of other people when they, you know, when in those situations. And he knew how to recruit moms, you know, and he knew that was the heartbeat, and that if mom wanted you to go to Alabama, that's probably where you were going. And, he was a large man physically, and his presence was large.
Could you have told him no if he'd asked you to come? I mean, could you have done it? I mean, if he said, Bill, I want you to come to the University of Alabama, could you have said no?
Yeah, I could have. Yeah. I believe I could have. Because I had to tell other coaches no.
Okay.
You know,
and that's a challenge. Sure.
I had to tell Vince Dooley no. You know, and so, but he wasn't Coach Bryant to me, and it would have been tough. Don't get me wrong, but Coach Bryant and I had some unpleasant conversations over the years. And I mean, because I was foolish and I was young and arrogant, and we had some pretty man-to-man, heart-to-heart conversations. And I'm sure I said some things out of line at that time, but you know, I mean, I realized that at the time, I realize now that at the time I was just a foolish teenager, and I didn't know who I was in front of. You know, I didn't know, and none of us knew. Ryan, the players, we didn't know. He was coach to us. We were with him every day. You know, and so I don't think as a player you understand who you're dealing with when you're dealing with a Coach Bryant or a Coach Saban or whoever major, you know, these guys that are going to be remembered forever. And so, yeah, it was always difficult. But I think I could have said no. But I like I said, I decided sitting at the Clemson game that that's where I was going to go.
So the couch that's in the Bryant Museum, do you ever go to the Bryant Museum? You ever have a chance to go to the corner over there where Coach Bryant's office is set up?
Yeah.
That green couch. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it was, but they say that that's where the players, and they would sink down as he was chewing their butt. It just get lower and lower and lower and lower.
Yeah, that's right. You would sit in that couch, Ryan, and it was old and it worn out. You would sit down, and it made you sit. You were sitting so much lower than he was, and he was in a big old desk in front of you across the room. So it looked like he was way up here high. And I told my son, I took my son to the museum years ago, and we saw that, what you're talking about. I said, see that couch right there? And he said, yes, sir. I said, I got my butt chewed a bunch of times. I guarantee there's still change of mine in them cushions somewhere. So, yeah, that's the same couch over there.
Now, the boating accident was not part of the butt chewing, was it?
No.
Okay.
Now, I would say he was disappointed, but he came and saw me in the hospital, and, you know, it was a fluke accident. And I ended up, you know, coming back in that year and playing. But yeah, that was man, I totally forgot about that.
Sorry, Bill. I mean, I got this crazy memory. Hey, listen, man, I could sit here and talk to you the rest of the afternoon, and we love these little Coach Bryant stories and that green couch and reliving Alabama history. We're so blessed to have a wonderful university, and it's fun to be able to reflect on these memories, Bill. But
it is.
Thank you, and safe travels over to Starkville. And I'm sorry about the coworker's daughter. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around those things. I hear people talking about losing a shot. I don't know what that individual's going through, but
I can't either. But I would like to say this, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The family. The family's last name is Little. The young lady name was Lake Little. And just pray that the family can find some peace and understanding in what's going on. And I told her mother earlier today in a text we were communicating that nothing I can say is going to make you feel better, but there will be thousands of people come to Christ because of Lake Little. And just pray for the family, and then they find that peace of God somewhere, somehow, and hopefully soon.
Well, and that's I like I said, I can't wrap my head around it. But as you said, you got to find the positive in the negative. And you know, Bill, I've shared your testimony because I didn't go through what you went through. I had other struggles, but it wasn't that. But I find people that do have issues that you've had, and we've talked about it many times. Your book details it, and it's those that can take, you know, hear somebody's testimony and encourage someone who's going through something similar. And I will certainly, I wrote the name at Little is what you said.
That's the last. The last name.
I got you. Yeah.
Patty Little's the mom. But and here's the thing, Ryan, and I don't mean to delay.
No. You're fine. You're fine. I mean, I'm in no rush.
I think that I've learned a lot of things during this cancer process, but when I first got diagnosed with cancer, God showed me that not to pray for so much for, you know, of course I prayed for him to heal me. That's what I want. But his decision he wasn't surprised by me getting cancer. You know, his decisions have already been made about Bill Searcey. He knows what's going to happen. I don't. And so what I prayed for peace and understanding in what's going on. And if healing and living longer was in the plan, then great. And if it wasn't, then that's okay too. And I think that's what you have to do, or that's what I have to do, is I have to pray for peace and understanding what's going on and what's God's purpose, and so we all know there's a reason for it. We may never know why, but then again, we may see a lot of people come to Christ because of it. And if that's what happens, then God bless them.
Safe travels, man, to Starkville, Mississippi.
Thank you,
we'll talk soon. Let's connect very, very soon. I promise you. I've been promising you a slab of ribs for quite a while, and we got to do it soon.
We'll do it soon. And hey, Ryan, have a great day.
Hey, now listen, they got a Dreamland in Birmingham, and I'm going to be there all next week. And sometimes that media food is like a cold turkey sandwich. So
let's do it. All right, call me.
All right, let's do it. Thank you, Bill. I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, brother.